If you're a government employee and you're thinking about leaving within the next 2 years, stop for a moment. This video could save you from making one of the most costly financial mistakes. Now, every 3 years, the pension fund reviews and updates their formulas. And the last review was completed in March 2024. And the new actuarial report has just been published on their website. Now, while the new report may look better on paper, the truth is it's still not where it should be. So the question is, could the formula change? And if it does, what would that mean for you? Now, in today's video, I'm going to be walking you through exactly what this formula change is, why does it happen, and how to tell whether you've already lost money from the past reviews. I'm also going to be helping you to understand how the changes affect you, right? Now, please make sure that you stay until the end because, again, I'll be guiding you through different steps and I want to make sure that you understand how to calculate this holistically. Now, I'm Dhevan Naicker, your go-to specialist for government employees thinking about retiring or resigning. Now, let's get started. So, what exactly is the formula change, right? Basically, the fund, and I think I'll actually start here. Why do they review it? So we have to understand how the pension fund operates. There's a risk pool that sits here. Let's say this as the pension fund. That's all of the capital, right? That sits inside it. So all of the money that's inside of that fund. And the fund's responsibility is naturally to make sure it does not run out of money, right? It also wants to make sure that it has enough money to pay its beneficiaries. And who are the beneficiaries? Well, it's you as one of the beneficiaries, as a government employee. It is also there to pay members, right, like yourself, and it's also there for pensioners. It's also there, for spouses, right? Those who have opted to retire and they passed on, and the spouses are collecting an income, right? So all types of beneficiaries in here. Now, behind the scenes, whilst we know that the fund works everything based on formulas, so all of the calculations are formula based, meaning your monthly pension that you see on the pension statement, the lump sum gratuity, the resignation benefit, everything is calculated by way of a formula. So they would determine those formulas, and the trustees would work in conjunction with the actuaries, and they'll determine the formulas. And then every 3 years, they start to review the formula, right? And when the review is happening, it's basically checking to see what's the health of the fund. Meaning, does the fund have enough money to pay all of its commitments, right? If it has enough money, of course, the formula doesn't need to be adjusted. If it doesn't have enough money, that's when they would have to go back, revisit this formula, make some adjustments in order to ensure that whatever capital sits in the fund is enough for them to pay the beneficiaries. So now that we have that basic understanding, and I'm going to give you a guidance on how do you determine if you lost money from a formula change, things like that. So there was a review that took place in March 2018, then March 2021, and then March 2024. So we're in 2025 now, at the time of me recording this video. So it's about a year ago that the review had happened. Now, usually when the reviews take place, naturally it's not a short process. There's quite a lot of work that gets involved in having the actual review done. And then the fund will then publish a notice, right? Which they have done. They've published a notice now in May this year. And basically they are indicating what had happened as a result of the March 2024, right? They're not saying exactly what's to come in the way of whether they're adjusting the formula or not, but they're just giving the results or the outcome of it, right? Now, in March 2021, when that review or assessment was done, we saw that on the 26th of October, there was a notice that was sent out where the fund was going to adjust its formula. Right. Initially, a lot of members mentioned to me that they found it a bit confusing. They didn't know whether it was going to affect them or not. And I showed them a formula which I'll walk you through now. And we found that majority of members were affected significantly, right? Or the ones that had reached out to me. The change took place on the 1st of November, 2022. So keep in mind 26th of October. And then just a few days later, it was in between a weekend actually. So technically it's 3 working days. Now, it is difficult, obviously, for the fund to serve a long notice, meaning they're not going to tell you 6 months ahead of time, hey, we're going to change the formula. Because keep in mind, it might then expose itself to mass exits, right? You might have tens of thousands of members wanting to leave the fund because, a fear of losing money. So I'm going to use these two dates to walk you through how you do the calculation. Keep in mind, though, that it's about a year or so later, right? So from March up to March is, 12 months, and then this is the fourth. So you're looking at about somewhere on, say, 16 to 20 months down the line is where the formula change might happen, which is why I'm starting to ask, hey, is there a new formula change coming about? Because the last review took place in March. It's the funds just published now, May, their findings. So are we likely to see somewhere towards the end of the year, maybe the August, September, October, that there might be an adjustment again to the formula, right? And I'll walk you through what needs to happen if that is the case. So how do you calculate if there is a loss? Now, because there's so much that happens within the pension fund, I want to give you some type of direction in terms of how you can determine, based on history, whether you had lost money or not in the past, right? And remember those dates that we discussed earlier, which was the October and then November. The good thing is the fund operates in terms of a formula. So the formula can be calculated backwards and the formula can be calculated forwards. So your first step is you reach out to the fund and get a statement as at 31 October 2022. It's definitely possible for you to request this because I have had other members being able to request it. Remember, the fund works simply on formulas, right? Then you're going to note what your resignation value is, right? So you're going to note here your resignation value. Then you determine, now this again doesn't mean that you're going to resign, but it's the easiest way for you to see the impact, right? Then you're going to get your statement as at the 30th of November 2022. So now you have two statements, right? 31 October 2022, 30 November 2022. You also are going to make a note of your resignation value, right? And then you simply are going to do a calculation, right? Where you're going to get this figure, 1, minus this figure, 2. So whatever your value was in October, chances are that's going to be your higher value, right? Minus what you see on the 30th of November. And that difference is your loss. Right? Or again, let's say you end up, if you are one of those, I've never had the case, but if you're one of those members, and you must please comment below, who had a gain, then you can comment below, right? If you've had a gain. Now, that's the first step that you want to do for this, right? Is you want to have an understanding as to whether you lost money, because then you have an idea as to how the formula change might affect you going forward. Not saying that it would happen, but how it might affect you. Next thing you want to look at is how long did it take for you to recover? So assume you lost some money. Let's say you lost 50,000 or 100,000 or even 500,000, right? Whatever the value was, you want to look at, hey, how long did it take for you to recover money? Now, usually I've noticed members took anywhere between 18 to 24 months, right? That means up to 2 years before they could see the change. So what you would do, because you already know your value here for 31 October, you know where sort of the higher value was, then you can start to have a look at, okay, there was October 2022, you get another statement as of October 2023. And again, you are looking to see, hey, what's the resignation value? Remember, it should increase because it's based on formulas. And the formula takes into account your years of service. So each month that you are there, naturally it should be higher, right? Again, unless they adjust it and then they pull the values down. So you want to have a look, hey, and you're going to compare. So let me write this down for you quickly. You're going to compare your 31 October 2022 value to see, hey, a year down the line, were you able to come back to the same value? So say here you had a figure of 5 million. You want to look at, hey, a year down the line, did you come back to 5 million? If you didn't, then the next stage is you want to have a look at 31 October 2024 to see, hey, you know what, 2 years down the line, were you able to get back? Right? We're trying to identify where the sweet spot might be. Now, again, you can ask for different months. You can ask for the months in between. The goal here is for you to have an idea of how long it took for you to recover. Let's say in our example, we'll put an example here of 2 years, right? Meaning it took you 2 years to recover. So then what you want to have a look at is, and now I want to put some values here, right? Say you had 5 million here. It dropped from 5 million down to 4.5 million. And it took you 2 years to come back to 5 million. Keep in mind, it's not that you made anything extra inside of that years. It's just to get back on par, right? Then you sort of have an idea, hey, look, whenever a formula change is happening, it could take up to 2 years for you to recover and get yourself back on track, which means the next formula change that's happening, say it's happening in, assume it happens now, right? Touch wood. And you want to leave in the next 2 years, right? Then you do not have enough time to get yourself on track. You may not have enough time to recover the money, in which case you then might want to look at, hey, what could you do to exit early? See, your next step could be, hey, look, you might want to exit early. Now, this will not affect members who are aiming at retiring, simply because, as I've shared in previous videos, the retirement figures are already forward calculated. It's not current. It's always calculated to age 60, or if you're older than 60, it's calculated to age 65, right? This is why they have the penalty if you are coming away before the retirement age. Whereas the resignation values are generally calculated up to that particular time or the date as listed on your statement. So your first thing your next step is, hey, is it wise for you to leave early, right? Because the last thing that you want to do is to have to leave shortly after the formula change if you've lost money. Now, another thing to keep in mind, critically important, let's say the change of the formula happens. Let's work with the one that happened before, right? It happened in October. And if you, in June, decide, hey, look, you're aiming at resigning and you submit your documents in early, you are leaving in November. And you submit your documents early. Now, keep in mind, if the formula change happens here in October, you can still lose money. Even though you're submitting your resignation early, but the moment that the formula change becomes effective, it's effective, right? So if you leave even a day after that formula change became effective, then naturally you'd be part of the new formula now. And this is why it's important for you to understand the information up front before you make any crucial decisions, right? Now, again, I hope the video has been helpful. If you are planning to leave in the next 2 years or so and you're needing assistance, you can always reach out to us to book a consultation. That's not a commitment that you've got to exit, but we can give you more information, help you run the calculations. There's certain other fine print that we can provide you guidance with as well. If you've not already done so, remember to like and subscribe to the videos, and I'll see you in the next one.